Well, hello, dear hearts, and welcome back to the Lola Gets channel. If you're new here, my name is Nicole, and this is a space where I'll talk about faith, love, growth, obedience, and the real life process of building something God whispered long before anyone else believed it. Okay, so today we're not doing fluff, we're doing the behind the scenes video of my author journey, and I'll be talking about vision versus timing and how to build boldly without burning bridges while you're doing it. Okay. So we're going to have some real conversation today. Let me tell you something. God can say go, and the world can still look at you like, girl, have a seat, or girl, sit down. Right. So I've definitely been in this space of feeling this way. So we're going to talk about it. So, and that tension right there, too, is where maturity is built. So, what I want to start with is, that, and I've mentioned this before, how God put the idea of blind faith in my spirit over a decade ago. Okay. So I didn't have a publishing imprint. I didn't have a website, didn't know anything about copyright, ISBNs, any of that stuff. I didn't have a channel, YouTube channel. And I didn't even fully have the confidence to do what I'm doing today. So, but at the time when all of this was going on, there was a whisper, like God whispered to me, telling me to go, telling me to do the things that I'm doing right now. And this was over a decade ago. So, and if you've ever had that type of experience from God, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's like, it doesn't shout, it's not loud, it's not demanding, it just stays. It just sits with you. It's like something on the inside, like, didn't I tell you you needed to do this? Or didn't I? Don't you remember I said you need to? It's all of those things. And sometimes it waits, right? Like you can be in a season of also waiting, even though God may have whispered something to you. So I've definitely been in that space as well. So, and then here's where it gets a little interesting is I watched my sister publish before me. I know you all seen, and hopefully you've seen the Sister Glow Up segment that we did. Um, I watched her move, I watched her obey, I watched her build, and I'm so proud, like genuinely proud of all that she's doing. It's inspiring. And I've told her that it inspired me to just do the things that God has been telling me to do. But if I'm also being honest, there were moments in my thought process where I was thinking, was I was I supposed to do this already? Like I feel like maybe did I miss my window, or am I too late now? Like is my what I'm producing or what I'm writing about, is that even needed? And this is where vision and timing can collide also, because when God gives you something early, but the manifestation is delayed, you have to learn how to manage your own thoughts, right? And it's definitely like not thinking about it like, is there still space for me? Because, thinking about like my sister and I we write about two totally different things. So we have different passions, different visions, all of those things. So there's absolutely still space for her, still space for me. We're just doing it in a different lens, right? So really nobody was fighting me externally there. The conflict was absolutely internal, right? And that's what the theme of this month is in March, is we're talking about communication, we're talking about conflict resolution. So I'm doing a little different spin where I'm talking about communication and conflict resolution as it relates to behind the scenes of what it's been like on my author journey for me. So that going back to like the comparison of between like, is there still space for me? Like that tried to come in, that tried to whisper into my subconscious as well. And insecurity tried to sit down in my living room, and doubt tried to say, maybe you just imagined it, right? Like maybe there isn't space for you, right? And here's what the leadership lesson I learned during this process is, if you cannot resolve internal conflict, external success will not feel like peace. It definitely will not. So you could sabotage obedience if you do not confront your insecurity. And again, speaking from my own personal experience and what I've been dealing with on this path, so I had to ask myself some real questions, right? Like, am I being delayed? Am I being developed, right? Like which path am I on? Right? Because delay can sometimes feel like you're being denied, right? But we know that that's not the case, right? Delay is not denial, right? And development does not always look like progress. Sometimes development looks like learning your business, right? Or growing spiritually, refining your voice, building your brand, or building resilience, becoming the version of you that can steward what you prayed for, what you've been asking God for, what you want God to show you in this season, right? So all of these things that I'm saying are things that I've struggled with and talked to God about along the way on this author journey that I'm on. So, and I think about it, if I had published 10 years ago or over a decade ago, when he first initially gave me the thought of writing a book, I wouldn't have had the same clarity that I do today. I definitely wouldn't have the same spiritual depth that I do as somebody like in their 30s versus somebody that's in their 40s, right? I have had a little bit more life experience, so my tone is a little bit different. So I also wouldn't have had the same type of confidence that I do right now, right? So the book might have been written or thought about, not all the way written, but at least thought about back then, but it wouldn't have been ready to be produced then because I hadn't experienced all of these things that I'm experiencing right now. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about communication because that's all another piece of this, right? So one of the other couple things that I asked myself is how do you explain a calling to people when it still looks and feels invisible? How do you tell someone, God told me this, God showed me this, God is pouring into me when you really don't have any evidence of that, right? Like people want the proof, right? Like you say, God showed you this, where's your numbers and where's your metrics and all of this other kind. I'm a business development person. So, right, we look at everything in numbers, we look at everything in dollars and cents. But when you're in a calling and you're in a season where God is stretching you and he's pushing you to your purpose, you don't always have those measurable outcomes, right? You don't always have those metrics to show. You just know that you're moving because God told you to move. And that's the season that I'm in. And it's a challenge for me when I'm looking and I'm trying to, look at the analytics and looking at the numbers and all of this. And it's not, where I think it should be. And it's not, that's really not my business. I'm just doing what God is telling me to do. And that's what I need to be and stay focused on. So this is an internal struggle for me, but God is helping me, right? God is helping me deal with that. I guess really you learn to communicate your vision without demanding validation. And that's the season where I'm in right now. Those are the things that I'm learning on this author journey, building a business, building a brand, all that kind of stuff. And that's me learning to mature in this area, where, I've struggled, right? Right. We all have different challenges and different things that we have to overcome. And this is one of those things that God is helping me. So I'm releasing some of that because hopefully it's helpful to someone else and you can learn from that, just like I'm learning in real time. So really what I'm learning is learning how to stop trying to convince people of the purpose that God has me on. Stop trying to over explain, stop trying to announce prematurely. Like I mentioned in another video, I'm trying to be intentional. I'm trying to be strategic about what I'm doing and when I'm doing it, right? There is a difference between secrecy and stewardship, right? And some things are not shared because they're fragile or you're in development, right? Like God is still building and producing in you. And sometimes it needs to wait. That's it. And sometimes God will give you something early, not so you can broadcast it, but so you can grow into it. Like I said, that development part, right? So, and then let's be honest here too, right? Like timing is strategic, right? God will often give you the vision early so that when the opportunity comes, you recognize it. Oh, this is the time, this is the place. It's very important to be in tune with where he's pushing you. And I've learned this in my own season, in my own journey, that it's very important to be lockstep with what he's sharing with me, with what he's telling me, the way he's guiding me. I've been trying to be very intentional about that. Instead of arguing with maybe being delayed, I reframed it. I stopped saying things like, why not yet? Right? Like, why can't I see the numbers yet? Why can't I see, the fruits? Right? Like and that's sometimes our struggle too. Like we want to see the fruits like immediately, and God doesn't operate that way. He wants you to build, he wants you to be consistent. And then you're learning so many different lessons when you're being consistent, right? So that's the other thing too, that shift changes just everything, right? And because when you see delay as development, you stop competing with people who are just maybe in a different season, right? So comparison loses power when you understand your assignment. You just really have to understand the assignment that you're on and know that your assignment is not the same as somebody else's assignment, right? The things that I'm doing right now in this season, though it may not seem like much to somebody else, it's what God is drawing me to do, right? So it's going to reach somebody. It's going to touch somebody who needs to hear it, who needs to feel it. And I don't know who that is. I don't know who that's going to touch. I don't know who's going to feel that, but I know that I'm not doing things in vain. I'm doing things intentionally because that's what God is drawing me to do, right? So and the thing, like I mentioned with my sister, like my sister publishing was not proof that I was behind in any way, right? It was just proof that obedience runs in our family, apparently, right? And that's just a different lens, right? It's a different testimony, and that's a different faith awakening, right? We're in two different paths, two different journeys, even though we both write books now at this point, but we're writing for different reasons. We're writing with different purposes and with different stories, right, to share with whoever it resonates with. Okay. So let's pivot for a second, right? So we talked about communication, conflict resolution, and all of these things happening on this author journey that I'm on. So let's talk about, brand building. So because once you finally say yes, right? Like I mentioned in another video that I'm in my yes, Lord season, like have your way. Yes, Lord. So you now have to decide how bold you're going to be in that season, right? Like this is kind of where I am right now. Like how bold do you want to be, Nicole? Like how far are you going to take this? And obviously being in lockstep with God, like, because God can do anything. He can do whatever he wants at whatever time in whatever season, right? So I'm just trying to I don't want to go ahead of God and I don't want to be behind him. I want to be in lockstep with however he chooses to grow the book business, however he chooses to grow the channel, like whatever he does in my business development life, right? My professional career, like all of those things, I want to be in lockstep with him. So I had to ask myself, related to all these other things that I'm doing, what do I share on LinkedIn, if anything? And right now I've decided really not to share much on LinkedIn. That's a lot of my professional network, right? Like people that I work with, people that I have worked with. So because this is so personal and it's more tied to me, I haven't felt the desire to share a lot of that information on LinkedIn. So, and I know it's available. I know it's public, but it's just using wisdom the way that God would have me to use it, kind of thing. So, and then it's also like, what do I keep for YouTube? Like, what's YouTube? What goes on LinkedIn? So navigating that has been like, how bold am I going to be about my apostolic faith? How do I honor my professional world while honoring my spiritual assignment, right? Because I'm both, right? I'm a business, like I said, I'm a business development leader. I manage multi-million-dollar deals. And I am also a faith-based author. Like I believe in the oneness of God. My faith is very strong and very dear to me. Like I'm both of those things, right? God put me in these places with these different people for a reason, right? So those identities are not in competition, but they do require me to use wisdom, like what I share here versus what I share there, right? And then also let me say something that I hope is freeing to somebody else is audience awareness is also not compromise, right? It's intelligence. Jesus did not speak to the fishermen the same way he spoke to the Pharisees. Okay. That same truth, but different delivery. So when I choose not to post every detail of my testimony on LinkedIn, it's not about being ashamed of it. It's just about strategy because some things are meant for the book or some things are meant for the channel, right? Like it's just really being intentional about the delivery of everything. So when I choose to be bold here on YouTube, it's not me being reckless. It's just me being in alignment with the platform that I'm trying to build on here. So wisdom can ask, who is this for? What is the goal? And then what is the fruit that I'm trying to produce, right? I've talked about this, I think this several times, I feel like, but I'm really trying to build a community here, right? A community of shared experiences, of people sharing like their growth. And when you have those seasons of uncertainty, like how you manage that, how you navigated that through God's word. Like there's lots of people that have gone through a lot of different things, and your testimony can be that anchor that helps somebody else through. So that's really what I'm here for, right? And when you answer those questions, you really stop oversharing out of emotion and you start communicating with intention and being intentional. So, and then here's some more real tension, right? Like when we're talking about conflict. So sometimes the conflict isn't external, it's identity based, right? Like it can I be taken seriously in corporate spaces if I'm open about my faith? Like those are things I struggle with. I'm in a corporate job, but I also am a, devout Christian, and I'm rooted in apostolic faith and apostolic doctrine. So can I be fully faith based without losing professional credibility? Right? Because again, like I said, I'm in both. I'm in both, but I'm centered, right? Centered with whatever it is that God wants me to do and whatever season he wants me to do it in. I want to be in lockstep with him. So let me tell you what I've learned in this whole process, in this process of building a brand, being an author, all of these things. You don't have to shrink one part of yourself to grow in another, right? You just have to be clear about what your direction is, what your purpose is, and then line up with that. Just line up with that. So clarity resolves tension. And I'm not combative about my faith. I'm not apologetic about it either. And there's a difference, right? Standing firm does not require being loud, and conviction does not require aggression, right? So that is conflict resolution at the identity level. And there will be people who don't understand the lane that you're in. I'm here. Some people may not, and I know that I'm not for everybody. I know everybody doesn't need this, and that's okay. That is okay. Not everybody's going to understand my lane. They're not, and that's all right. Boundaries are not walls, but they are definitions, right? So I don't need everyone to understand my launch strategy. I don't need everyone, every professional colleague to consume my testimony because it's not for everybody. And I don't need every viewer to agree with my doctrine or my beliefs, you know, but I do need to be consistent, right? Consistency builds trust, point blank, period. And trust protects relationships. So we're building a community, but we're also building trust, right? So that's how you build without burning bridges. You don't force, you don't overshare, you don't weaponize, you don't hide either. Like I can't hide either. So I'm learning to move with more wisdom and discernment. Moving into wisdom, one of the biggest lessons in this journey for me has been tone. Tone is everything. You can be right and still be wrong in delivery. I've had to check myself, especially when I'm stressed or I'm tired or there's so many things going on. And especially when you're building something vulnerable like this, because pressure reveals your communication habits. Conflict resolution is not just about big blowups. It's also about your daily refinement, what you're learning in this season. It's about apologizing quickly. It's about choosing humility over ego. That applies in marriage, it applies in leadership, entrepreneurship, all of those great things, okay? In ministry, just absolutely everywhere, okay? So God is pulling me in many different directions. So I have to use wisdom. But I also know I feel right now on fire. And while I'm able, I'm going to keep moving the way that he wants me to move, right? I'm certainly being pushed into my purpose. And I want to do it intentionally. I want to do it strategically and be in lockstep with him. Okay. So, final reflection. I know I've said a lot, and hopefully you're all still with me. But here's what I want you to take with you. If God gave you a vision years ago and you're just now walking in it, you're not late. If someone else moved first, that does not mean you missed your window. If your professional world and your faith world feel like two lanes, ask God for wisdom. not permission, asking for wisdom in that season. Resolve internal conflict before it becomes external insecurity. Reframe delay as development, communicate with intention, build with discernment, stand firm without becoming combative. And that's maturity. That's also leadership, it's faith in motion. And dear heart, the vision God gave you, it doesn't expire. What it does is it just matures. It matures because God is patient and he waits for us. He definitely waited for me. That's all. Let me just speak for me. God definitely waited for me. Okay. So if you're in a season or you're in a waiting season, ask what it's building. If you're in a launch season, guard your tone. If you're in a comparison season, remember assignment over applause. Okay. And if hopefully this resonated with you, let me know in the comments which part hit you the hardest. Is it the vision, the timing, the identity, the communication? And if you're walking through your own obedience season, I'm praying you move with clarity, courage, and wisdom. Okay. So before we close out though, and before I forget, because I usually do, let me not forget to tell you what's happening this month, because your girl, like I said, is moving and shaking. And the Blind Faith Digital Reflection Bundle is officially releasing on March the 10th. That bundle includes the ebooks, EPUB, plus the PDF version. And then the 6-week Faith Reset Digital Journal that includes the interactive and the stylus version. Okay. So this is for those of you who don't just want to read the Blind Faith book. You want to also reflect, reset, and really walk this thing out. Okay. And can I just say, whoop, whoop. Another announcement. I am now officially, or Blind Faith is now officially on Apple Books. So you'll see the link in the description of my Lola Gets 85 channel, where you can also purchase, not just from the website, because the website will have more things. It's like the bundles and all of that. But if you just wanted the book, you can also get it on Apple Books for all my Apple lovers. Okay. So this part still feels surreal to me to say that out loud. But God is faithful and I'm humbled and grateful. Amen. So if you've already purchased, thank you. And I appreciate your support. If you've been praying for me quietly, I thank you for that as well. Okay. And if you want to stay connected to everything I'm building, the bundles, the giveaways, the behind the scenes updates, the next releases, please join the community. The link is in the Lola Gets 85 YouTube description as well. So you can drop your email there and you'll always be the first to know what's launching, what's coming, all of that good stuff. Okay. What I'm giving away. Because yes, who doesn't love a giveaway, right? Okay. I love getting free things. So I like to give them away as well. So, and of course, if you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. Subscribe to the community, subscribe to the channel. We're building something intentional over here. So this is not just content. This is community. This is growth. This is obedience in motion. And I would love for you to walk this journey with me. Okay. If this blessed you or something resonated with you, drop me a few hearts in the comments. I'd love to know that I'm not just talking to myself. Okay. Well, all right, dear hearts, I've said a lot, so that's enough. Stay tuned for more because more is always coming. Be blessed.